This is Dennis Peacock with another edition of News Briefs on the Transforum. Afghanistan, you can see it coming. We've been talking about this here really, for a number of months here on the Transforum. And the main principle here, folks, is you cannot win a civil war without the full support of one side. Now, many of you might say that are aware of this issue on a greater depth level. Technically, can you call what's going on in Afghanistan a civil war? Maybe not, but basically what you have is you have the authoritarian religious elements of Islam, the terrorists, so to speak, the residue of the Taliban, and then the rest of the population, which seemingly has been carried along by conflict since the 1980s and the war with Russia. You've got, almost 30 years of war and a whole lot of conflict going on even before that. Now it's about to hit the fan because President Obama is calling for an increase in troops, somewhere between 20 and 30, even as many as 40,000 over the next time period. And the leaders of the Democratic Party, Nancy Pelosi and her crew, are basically saying, I don't think so. I don't think we're going to send any more troops to Afghanistan or anywhere else without a lot more debate. The whole issue of troop expansion is a major issue. And President Obama is going to get slammed relative to what is his strategy on terrorism and recognizing that Afghanistan is a place that he's identified as a key place to fight that war. And the Democrats and the Republicans now, I might add, beginning to get really antsy about the whole situation. Well, it raises some big questions. We talked about it once before here on a news brief. What did we learn from Vietnam? Well, one of the things we learned is you can't win a war in a country without the support of at least a majority or close to a majority of the indigenous citizens. And we don't have that in Afghanistan. One report after another where actually the locals were participants, tacit participants, and in some cases active participants in betraying the U.S. troops who are there to protect their cities and their villages. You cannot win a war without the support of the people. Now, what about support here in the United States? We learned that in Vietnam. It's not just what's going on there in country, it's what's going on here. Do we have a growing anti-war movement around the whole situation there, not only in Iraq, but obviously in Afghanistan? And you can feel that beginning to come up. Now, next terrorist attack that hits home in the U.S., that might change. But the problem in Afghanistan, like all indigenous civil wars like that, is you have a hit-and-run tactics. It's hide and go next door. And next door right now is in Pakistan, which is a major player in the global battle. The bottom line is we don't have a strategy or an effective strategy to deal with terrorism. That's the big problem. And it looks like if all of this is not enough to weigh against the Afghanistan war, we have the whole concept of nation building, that is building up and strengthening the national infrastructure, the governmental infrastructures in Afghanistan. And guess what, folks? Afghanistan is number 2 on the world's list of the most incompetent and least powerful governments. Somalia is number 1. Afghanistan is number 2. That's hardly a situation where you want to engage in a war where nation building is your primary issue. We need to put this on our nation's critical list as well. It's not going to go away, and it's going to have to be resolved fairly quickly. This is the Transforum, guys. Let's engage.